My name is Mark Patterson. I'm a sound healer, and I encourage you not to believe anything that I'm telling you tonight. I encourage you to decide whether what I have to share is true for you or not. And that's what we're here, is to remember who we really are. My ego wants to believe that you're here to see me, but you're really here to remember God, whatever God means to you. And if sound enables you to do that, then I've done my job. Because it's about the gift of remembering. All right, so I'm a latchkey kid from Iowa. I grew up in Iowa with a single parent who worked 2 jobs. I found myself having a lot of alone time. And in that time, I had numerous visitations by ETs, by angels, by lights. I always knew things about people. My mom finally admitted to me last year that I would go to the Christmas tree and pick up the presents at 4 years old and go, this is the shirt, this is the shoes, and it would drive her crazy. Now, unfortunately, every summer I'd see my father. I promise you I will get to the sound. I would see my father, and my father to this date is a very right-wing Christian. He would send money to Jimmy Swaggart, Pat Robertson, Oral Roberts. And so I learned all about Jesus. And I also learned that I was possessed because I was very psychic. So unfortunately, because of that, you become overly sensitive. And by the ages of 13 and 14, I was doing a lot of alcohol and a lot of drugs. To the point that one night at a high school party at the age of 16, I thought it'd be really cool, so I decided to chug a 5th of vodka, 4 beers, and 2 glasses of wine in 90 minutes. If you do the math, that's 31 shots in 90 minutes. Please, please, please do not try this at home, as you may not achieve the same result that I did. Needless to say, my body went into cardiac arrest, and I died. And I didn't kind of sort of die or have a hallucination. I was DOA, and I was dead for 22 minutes. I was dead. I went into the light. I was greeted by 7 angels. They were 14 feet tall each. They took me into a holographic building that had my life as I lived it up to the age of 16. And any time that I was angry, resentful, or blamed other people, and of course that's all that we ever do when we're 16, my angels asked me one thing, and that was, how does that relate to love? There's no judgment, there's no hell. They just want to know love. What would love do? Because everything in life seems to be set up for us beforehand, before we get here. We write a script. And I said we. Guess who writes the script? That's right, we do. Not God, us. See, you're it. If you get one thing out of this talk tonight, it's that you're it. I think Psalm 139:16 says, even before a day had passed, every word was written in your book. We write it all out before we get here. So then everything in life becomes an opportunity to what? Express only love or fear. And if we express fear, we generate the same things over and over again. When we respond with love, we evolve. The word evolve is the only word that has the word love in it in the dictionary. And I want you to know some things based on my near-death experience. You are absolutely loved no matter what you do or don't do. You cannot fail at this process. You are loved beyond measure. The only one that doesn't believe this is you. You are never alone. You're always surrounded by unseen influences. They are here to assist you. They agree to help you. And the third thing is that you have never done anything wrong. Your life is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And as soon as you make peace with that, that is what's called enlightenment. But we get caught up in our judgments about our life the way that it is. Your life is exactly the way it's supposed to be, because it cannot be any other way. You're it. So, shortly after my near-death experience, I was up in Wisconsin, and I was with my friends, and one morning, my best friend's mother came into our room, and I looked at her and I said, you know, you really need to call your daughter and tell her not to come up to this trip. And she looked at me like I was crazy. You know what? We've been planning this trip for a year. We want her to be a part of this family. You know, we've been planning this. We want her to be. I said, I don't think you understand. She really should not be here. And then later on that night, I told her the same thing at dinner. I said, you really should call your daughter and tell her not to come. Well, they got so upset with me, they sent me home on the Greyhound bus the following morning. Their daughter was killed in a car accident on the way up. So again, I chose to numb it out, tune it out, because I said, if it's going to mean that I'm going to be responsible for someone passing because I couldn't save them, because you told me to tell that parent what was going to happen and they didn't listen, I don't want to do this. So I chose to do drugs every day for 3 years, again, to numb it out, because I didn't want to feel. And then another childhood friend, his mother gave me the book, You Were Born Again to Be Together by Dick Sutphin. And she gave me an audio tape called The Out of the Ordinary Show with Jerry Bowman and Joe Albiani. How many of you heard of Shirley MacLaine or Kevin Ryerson? Kevin Ryerson was a trance channel for John, as in John the Apostle or in the Bible. Jerry Bowman was a trance channel who would channel John, and John would speak through Jerry like he did Kevin. And after listening to these videotapes, I would find John coming to me in the dream state, and he would say things like, we never use the truth to be right. We never use the truth to make others wrong, and we never use the truth to score points for our ego. He would say things like, the kingdom of God is within you right now. Why do you seek anything else? He would say things, if you want to see God, then look in a mirror. Again, you're it. Now, you have to understand that when you're 20 years old, there's too many blondes and brunettes and other things in life, and the last thing that you want to hear is an ascended master talking to you, giving you information. Then in 1993, I promise you I will get to sound. I just got to give you a background. 1993, I moved to Charleston, South Carolina. And that's when I really became aware of the unseen realms and influences. I worked at 82 Queen, which is a restaurant in Charleston, and every day this man came into my section. Didn't matter what section I was in, but he was in my section. And at the time, I was watching these videotapes called The Flower of Life with Drunvalo Melchizedek. It was a bootleg of the bootleg of the bootleg. And we were, about the ETs, crop circles, pyramids, and things like that. And it really resonated truth with me. And then the fifth day, this man is before me, having dinner with his family, and this voice says, we want you to talk to him about the videotapes you're watching. I have 6 tables, we have an hour-and-a-half wait, and I'm thinking, you guys are just out of your mind. It's just not going to happen. And they go, no, we really want you to talk to him about this. This is really important. I left the table. They physically pushed me back in front of the table and said, you need to ask him and talk to him now. I said, are you a mathematics professor? Because what was I going to say, He goes, what did you really want to ask me? See, he knew. And I said, well, I'm watching these videotapes on sacred geometry. He goes, Drunvalo Melchizedek? Where did you get those videotapes? I have to have those videotapes. I said, well, they don't belong to me, but I can call my friend. If she says it's okay, I'll be glad to give them to you. So the next day I call her. I said, this guy really wants these videotapes. He says he's got to have them. Can I give them to him? She goes, sure. Next day I give him the videotapes. 3 months pass. Go to work one day. Voice says, we want you to go to your manager now and tell her that you need to go home. I'm like, oh, come on. I just got here. I'm supposed to work. You need to ask her if you can leave. Stacy, I need to go home. I'm not feeling good. She looks at me, oh, I guess so. Voice comes back, says, we need you to go directly to your apartment. Please do not stop anywhere along the way. I go home. I open the door. The phone rings. It's Roger calling me from France. He says, how would you like to meet Drunvalo in person and work with him? I said, yeah, you know what? Where is it at and how much is it going to cost? And he says, everything's been paid for. Thank you for the videotapes. Your life is exactly the way it's supposed to be because it put you exactly where you needed to be if you're willing to stop and listen. I love Michael Beckwith. I know Michael Beckwith. And he says humility begins with listening. I can assure each and every one of you that I signed up for the humility lesson this time around. And keep in mind, we teach best what we most need to learn. So that was 1993. 1996, I get a phone call at 1:30 in the morning from a woman I never met, never spoke with before. I don't know how she got my number. She said, Mark, what are you doing with your life? You have this amazing gift with sound that you don't understand. She went on to describe events from my childhood in very vivid detail. She described events of my near-death experience in very accurate detail. And shortly after that phone call, this sound came through. Sorry, I got to come back. So, thank you. That sound is what I call the sound of stillness. And in presenting this, in fact, the first time I presented this was in August 13th, 1997, of all places, at a religious science church in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where I went to both undergraduate and graduate school at New Mexico State University. And we noticed after doing that sound for about 20 minutes, we had about 150 people in the audience, that about 75 to 90 of them were like this. They were out, you know, like a hypnotist. I've done stage hypnosis for many years. Sleep! They go out. And we believe that that sound is so pure that it literally pierces anything that you're holding on to. It just cuts right to the cord of whatever you have. And it clears it immediately. That sound will clear space really, really fast. Now we have CDs. Now one of the things that we know that CDs do of the tone is it clears your space out. If you have children that don't sleep well at night, or if you don't sleep well at night, that CD will clear your energy field out really fast so you can let go and sleep. So we carry all of our stuff in our energy field, then we wonder why we can't sleep at night. Because you're not still. I mean, my moon is in Pisces, and I've been addicted to everything from women to wine to work. But the thing that your body wants the most is stillness. It's in stillness that